Okay, welcome to Hashtag Leadership What's on Your Mind, a series of inspirational guests to talk about their story and to share what's on their mind regards to the topic of leadership. I've got some great people coming on. Today we've got Clint Rahe. Hi Clint, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. Stu, how are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. So Clint, I used to work with Clint in the RAF. He's in Australia, so hopefully the audio and the visual will be okay for us. So we're going to be asking guests about their journey in leadership and some of the things they're doing in their world right now that has an impact and can add some value to your leadership journey. So Clint, just introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, what you're doing, about where you've got to where you are now, and introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Clint Rahe. And like Stu said, yeah, I've been in the military for, I think it's about 11 and a half years, almost 12 years. And I'd probably say that was where my leadership journey started, I think. I started off as a physical training instructor. And then I think naturally as part of that trade, you gravitate towards leadership and running practical exercises, and because you're given that rank of corporal straight off from training, so you're given that sort of responsibility anyway, and you are the person that does things. So if any station commander or officer or anything wants something done, first people they come to, PTI. So you sort of gravitate towards that leadership position as you do. And I think when you evolve as well within the military, there's so many jobs that you could do. And I just gravitated towards being a bench training instructor, so which is all outward bounds. I think here in Australia, I mentioned that, and they're just like, "What does that mean?" I'm like, "Outward bounds." So everything outward bounds, pretty much. And as I specialised within there, it just gives you some extra tools, I think, to push the limits of your participants on your programs, and yeah, just play about really. And I think I've been pretty lucky within the whole adventure training field, is because in the military, you use adventure training as a medium for personal and professional development. And working at Fairborn and other places, we're pretty lucky where we got people in pre-deployment phase before they went out to Afghanistan and Iraq, and we worked with them for a week, and working everything sort of team leadership, team communication, conflict resolution, to prepare them. I'd say the soft skills, but it's giving them those experiences in I'd say in inverted commas, controlled environment, and working with the leaders of those teams to increase their self-awareness. And I was lucky enough to do that, and then I've been out to the Middle East as well, just to see what actually happens. And when you go out to that environment again, as a PTI, physical training instructor, you're the go-to person to get anything done. So and look, part of leadership as well is about getting people to do things. So this is a really good line, is it's about getting people to do things that they don't necessarily want to do, but making them feel good about it. And you maybe not have got that authority over them, but you can influence them. So, and out there it's all about influence and persuasion. So and then when you come back, it's around that decompression phase of the deployment. So, and what we found out there is people were coming back and they had trauma, they had experienced things that necessarily were not ready for, and we used to use the same exercises but in a different way to get them back to, I'll say normal, but just to try and decompress them a little bit before that. And as well, being, I think you have so many opportunities there within the military that I've had, working with high performance teams, such as Man United, Wolverhampton Wanderers, St Helens rugby league team, Birmingham City, and see how they operate as a team and how their leadership works within all the different individuals. So I'll say just it's been a really good grounding for me, and I've had some really good leaders and mentors within the military as well. So it sort of set me up, I think.
Bob, can I ask a quick question? So, in the first episode of this podcast, I shared my story and my sort of view, and I'm really passionate about the military because that's where it gave me the love and the exposure to leadership and development training. Could you just, in your perspective, I spoke about the added value that I saw, and especially you mentioned about Fairball, and I shared about the fact that people used to arrive with a perception that they were going to have a fab week and it was going to be fun, which it was. But I was so inspired when they did the presentations at the end of the week and actually what they gained from those experiences. So what, in your perspective, what was the added value that the military was giving their teams and their people?
Yeah, look, that, and I think people don't realize is what they don't realize is that, yeah, you may go out canoeing, for example, in a pair, and you'll be out there and think, is this got to do with going out to Afghanistan or Iraq? There's no, there's no rivers or creeks or anything like that. But it's actually the soft skills of working together, giving them that real life situation. But they don't actually realize that as an instructor, we're sat back and we can actually identify then areas for them to develop. And it's, you're actually giving them the experience, but you're not being the leader or the manager of that expedition, if that makes sense. And I'll give you an example. I took a group of signalers from the start of the week, and to him I was like, hey Matt, what do you want out of the week? And he said, look, I want my team to be empowered and I want them to be able to make decisions when they need to make decisions under pressure. So I said, okay, this is your role for the week. I said, I just want you to observe and just see how it goes. And we threw them into orienteering to start. Really easy, fun exercise. And it turned out they were looking for him for answers for pretty much the whole day. Yeah. And it's the ability then to go, I'm going to tailor my training to make it a little bit more, put maybe a little bit more pressure on the team to come up with answers. So, which culminated in going on a 3-day expedition in Wales over the hills. And, we set it up for them to navigate and things like that. And what happened was they all got lost. They walked 7 kilometers in the wrong direction. They're all tired. They didn't eat properly for breakfast. They got up late. They didn't drink enough water. They didn't set their compasses the night before, which is all the standard, operating procedures. Walked off the mountain in the wrong direction. And they're sort of looking around going to the leader to go, what the hell do we do? And Matt was about to jump in, and I grabbed him and you. And I think sometimes in life,
experience there from good old Australia. Just go through that last little bit again, please.
Yeah. So look, I dragged Matt away, and I said, look, you just walk over there. Now this is real life now, because we have to get off the mountain. It's getting dark, and we have to be back in the center for 4 o'clock. And it's amazing. Once the leader was out of the way, they actually come together as a group and worked out where to go. Obviously, with a little bit of prodding from myself, but it really leadership. And we talk about this a lot. Is once it's that ability for the leader to step out of the way to say, look, this is the vision, here's the mission, here's the direction. I want you to figure it out. And it's to give them those experiences. I think sometimes leaders they just don't do that because they're worried that their direct reports would be better than them. And look, I see this in the business world all the time. But it's those, the added value of, well, yes, have a fun week, but there are training objectives which we uncover as we go through the week, and we give them real life. It's like an epiphany moment, right? It's like, oh, yeah, I didn't realize that. And you could be on the side of Cadaridris, for example.
Awesome. Yeah, that's
realize, oh my God, I thought, I'm really direct and I start shouting at people.
Yeah. And it's that piece, isn't it? That's really my strategy of working with business owners now is having those light bulb moments where sometimes the best thing is to step back and watch and listen and look and learn and develop and actually do the little bits. And like you said, those little prods in the right direction to direct it. So
yeah,
Tell us what you're doing now. You've been out of the military 7 years. You're still fully immersed in the leadership world. And what are you seeing out there? What are you doing in business? What are the little bits of best practice you can share? Tell us about what the here and now looks like.
Yeah, so I work for a business consultancy in the city in Sydney, and we work with, I guess, business like medium to small up to large businesses. And what I do is I go in and I deliver all their leadership training. I do executive coaching on some of the directors to get their head straight, and to actually look at them to go, look, when was the last time you've done any training? Let's look at your self-awareness. So I work with them, but then I also work with their senior leadership teams. So we run group coaching sessions, and I've got a structure and a methodology behind all of that as well. So I think a lot of times, especially within business, people want instant results, and leadership and getting better results, it's not an instant thing. It takes time to embed a leadership philosophy, and I think from the military specifically, working with like Man United and some of the sports teams, is I've taken that learning and put it into action, because for me, leadership is nothing without action. And sorry. So yeah, I said leadership's nothing without action, right? So it's all well and good reading all the books, but if you don't do anything, then you're never going to improve. So I work with that. I've worked. I guess that whole transition piece has been pretty much of a challenge as well, just to find yourself where you are. But I guarantee this, and I tell a lot of my friends who are, similar to you, or they're transitioning out. I'm like, we've got so much information up in here, so many experiences, and leadership is storytelling. Yeah. So when I do my 1 or 2 day workshops or 5 day workshops, a lot of the time, and I say to them, you've got all the answers. It's just around bringing it out in a story that's going to inspire people and motivate people to get them to do what you want them to do. If you tell, more often than not, if you shout at somebody, they'll do it, but are they going to feel great about it?
I'm really, and again, one of the things I'm really kind of working on at the minute is, and again, I love the light bulb moments when this happens, is that business owners and people who don't actually see themselves as a leader and see that responsibility. So when you talk about self-awareness, what do you do? Yeah. How do you increase your self-awareness in what you do?
Yeah, I've been working in the automotive field, right? So good salespeople, they sell a lot of cars, they're really good. What happens? They get promoted. Are they necessarily great people leaders? No. So what I tend to do, if I'm working in that industry, for example, I use I'll behavioral profile them. So I use a DISC behavior profile, which it's a really simple, easy tool. There's loads of different ones out there, but I found, especially in Australia, that one works. And it gives them a little bit more of an insight into why they do what they do. And if they can understand that their behavior is pretty predictable, which is what it is, then we can then put in, within my coaching, then I can put in things in place for them to develop learned behaviors, as an example of, structure, time management, relationship management, people skills. Because, self-awareness is a fluffy word that gets put about, but really it's a reflection on what your impact is on, what impact you have on others. And are you socially aware? Can you pick up the signs, specifically in a meeting, right? As an example, that you're talking too much, are you picking up on that? Or are you so focused on yourself that you have no awareness? So it's multiple pronged. I think, I use emotional intelligence inventory as well. That it talks around that, can you pick up the signs from other people? How do you self-regulate your mood, for example? And I've got some really good, tips and tools, like, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, like above and below the line behaviors. I use that in team leadership a lot. So you draw a line and you say, where am I? Am I above the line? And above the line is being proactive, taking initiative, making decisions, being a victor. Whereas below the line, you're a victim. You're blaming people, you're making excuses, you're taking no action, you're not questioning the status quo, you're just silent, you're not proactive at all. So I use that tool quite a lot, and I ask people, where are you? Where were you in that meeting? Your response like? Where did it push you above or below the line? So, and that takes time. So it's just building up that sort of awareness of, well, where am I? When I come to work. So another example is, say you've got a performance appraisal to do at 9 a.m. You wake up in the morning, you stub your toe on the way to your bathroom, you spill your toothpaste, you run out of coffee, you get a flat tire, it's raining, the buses or trains are delayed, you're going to arrive at 9:30. Where's your mind at? Where's your mindset? You're probably really annoyed. You're probably below the line. So it's to go, how do I get myself above the line? And those are the actions, right? So those are the actions of, right, this is how I feel. What are my choices in this situation right now? I can choose to stay angry and mad, or I can do something about it. This is why I can control and, circular control and concern and influence. So to build that whole self-awareness, it takes a long time. And like I said, the leaders just want instant reactions like this. And I'm like, look, if you enter with a coach with me, it's a minimum of 12 sessions. So it's like 3 months.
Yeah. That's why
it goes on for another 3 months after that.
Yeah, that's why this is all about leadership journeys and talking about other people's leadership journeys. Because a lot of the stuff I do and see is I say this all the time, we only see what we see. And we see these great business owners, these great leaders, these great managers, and we think we can get there really quickly. I remember the first ever time I was exposed to facilitation, and it was Nev at Clonroos, and it was phenomenal. It was only a review with the 6 of us in the pub later on, and I was like, how do you do that as a skill? And it's now 12-ish years on, and I'm starting to have that impact, and it's great to reflect, and you build those momentums and those skills and that toolbox of things that you can go to as a leader.
Well, and also that's why it's a coaching skill as well. What I like doing is, especially in my training, if I talk less than everyone else, then I've done a good job. But to give them a real life experience, and then just to sit there and then pick it apart afterwards, because self-awareness is reflection, right? So as well as doing the tools, but it's sitting there in reflection. But we're all so busy, and I hate using that word busy, but we're all just filling our time up, and COVID-19 has given us a time to stop, reflect, and think about that. And we're having all Zoom meetings, so instead of being in a room for 2 hours, it's 20 minutes. So we're having more time to sort of develop ourselves when we're looking at that. So
Awesome. So
awareness.
We've got a couple of minutes left. I forgot to mention, Clint, it was 20 minutes, I forgot to mention, but 2 minutes left. Tell me a little bit about, obviously the people listening to this are going to be interested in leadership, triggered to be thinking about leadership as a journey. I'm really interested in supercharging and telling stories about helping people on their path. What are a couple of things that you could share, maybe 2 or 3 things that can really get people thinking and put them in the right direction?
Yeah, I'll drop a few bombs right now. Here's the first bomb, right? Leadership is not about you, but it is about you, right? So leadership's not about you, but it is about you. And that means that you take the ego out of it. It means that it's about the culture that you create around your team. Are they willing to give you feedback or not? Are they all... do they know exactly what they're doing? So if you create to it, because a lot of the time, some of the good leaders are those that do nothing, but that's the perception, but behind the scenes, they're pulling the strings, right? So there's one. The next one, leaders create leaders. So it's around being a leader, training leaders to have a succession plan and go in. There's a good book by Legacy about one of their mottos. I'm always on about this one. What got you there won't get you here. In my impulse of leadership, so you've got, you know, team leader, level 1, level 5. That means like delegation.
Just start that one again, Clint. We just had a bit of a worldwide disruption there.
It's the hamster. I think it's a crocodile's biting through the broadband line, I think, down here.
Probably, yeah. Go on, just do that last one again, please.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, like, what got you here won't get you there, right? So, awesome. You know, it's about, there are levels of leadership, right? So, level 1 leadership, you know, is just basic delegation, where you've got level 5, which is you're sat at the top of the tree and it's around empowering other people. So you don't have to be taking charge and commanding. I think the common misconception with the military is, oh, we're all level 1 leaders, which is take charge and be, you know, command and control and delegate. And no, that's, you know, you can't use that as you step up to like supervisor, manager, general manager, CEO. So that's why leadership is a continued journey of education, I think. So, man, I've got heaps.
I know. Well, I'll tell you what,
of stuff.
We're going to have to get you back on again, I think. Thank you so much for your time. I know we were worrying about the connection, weren't we? So, Clint, always great to see you, mate. Thank you very much for your time and sharing your story. Hope you enjoyed that, everybody. That's the first ever episode on the first guest on #leadership, what's on your mind. I'm super excited to be sharing all the other guests I've got lined up for you. And if you like this, make sure you follow. You can watch it on YouTube or follow it on your podcast provider, and look us up on Star Development UK or Stuart Waddington across my social media platforms. So, Clint, thank you again, and see you all guys next week. Bye.
Thanks, Stu.